Hey guys, today we're talking about Thor Ragnarok. I just saw it the other night at a premiere and I'm sick. So let's talk about that. So yeah, I'm sick, so my voice is a little not there. So I'm tomando poquito mate. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like an Argentinian tea, if you will. Shout out to mi gente Argentina. And we've taken some off-brand NyQuil stuff. So let's see if I can keep it together. Thor Ragnarok stars Chris Hemsworth, obviously, as Thor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and then we also got Kate Blanchett, Mark Ruffalo, Idris Elba, Jeff Goldblum, Tessa Thompson, and Carl Urban, all in this movie. And it's directed by Taika Waititi. Waititi. I hope I said that kind of right. He also directed Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows. I have not seen Hunt for the Wilder People. I've heard it's good, but I did see What We Do in the Shadows and I enjoyed it. It is a very different kind of humor, but it's definitely good. So it takes place in the Marvel Universe and it follows what happens to Thor after his father, played by Anthony Hopkins, dies and his sister, Kate Blanchett, returns to claim the throne of Asgard, and then things ensue. That's all I'm going to really say about it. I did like a lot about it. There's a lot to have fun with here. It's definitely a fun movie. It does look very good for the most part. It definitely, for the most part, has good CGI, and it's relatively well done, and I would hope for the most part that would be the case with a big budget Marvel superhero film that relies so heavily on CGI. That being said, there are some parts where it is a little bit more noticeable. There is a lot of color, which I liked a lot. It was nice to see the fact that there was a huge use of color. It was a very vibrant, very alive, and it helped with the lighthearted feel of the movie, I think. Additionally, the action scenes, I think, were very well done, especially from this director that for most people no one will have ever heard of and is very outside the Marvel Universe. There was definitely a sense of grandeur with these scenes. It was also really cool to see the use of a Led Zeppelin song in a couple different scenes, and I thought that was really cool. Maybe a little cliche, but I definitely enjoyed it. As far as the direction and writing goes, it was very solid all the way through. I definitely think it benefited from having this outside director come in who was more independent and outside of this traditional Marvel universe. There was a lot of quick and witty, dialogue-driven jokes, which I think can be attributed to that director and that different feel, because this is very much so a comedy. There's obviously always been humor in the Marvel Universe, but in this movie in particular, I would say it's very much so a comedy before it's an action superhero movie. There are a lot of obvious references to other movies as well, and I liked it as a film nerd. There was a reference to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, very direct, and additionally Gladiator. I do think that it was really cool seeing what an outside director could do with such a big movie and kind of bring it into uncharted territory. A lot of the humor landed really well for me, and I definitely appreciated that. As far as the acting goes, I don't think there were any weak links whatsoever. I think everyone did a very good job, and especially because a lot of these characters, between Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, and Tom Hiddleston, they all have played these characters so many times that there really wasn't any surprises whatsoever. I mean, they do what they do. They slip into the role easily. There's no surprises in a good way or a bad way. They are those characters. They've embodied them. They know what they're doing, and I enjoyed them. Additionally, Jeff Goldblum is in here as this bizarre character, and I thought he was very funny. But Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum. As far as cons go with the movie, I didn't have too many whatsoever. The film at times had some CGI that was kind of obvious. Now, that's not a make or break as far as the storytelling goes. However, if it is obvious, especially in such a big budget superhero movie where they rely so heavily on CGI, if it's noticeable, it can definitely take me out of it. The plot does feel like we've been there before. It's not that it's not original, and it's definitely difficult to continuously have completely unique or original filmmaking in terms of the story, just because there are so many ideas out there, and you're also taking from a source material and a universe of comic book lore and everything. So it's hard to say, oh, well, it's not completely original or what have you, but I think that originality really came from the direction, which is what I appreciated, and it was okay because I knew what I was getting into, which was a Marvel movie. I did have one other nitpick that I had. Now, for some people, I'm sure this is going to be a moot point, or big comic book fans, Marvel fans. I understand they were originally written in English, they were created here, it is what it is, there's source material, etc. But for me personally, as just a film lover and somebody who wants to see holistically a standalone, good, great film, this nitpick for me stuck out to me a lot. But they're in a different, at some point in the film, a different planet or realm, and all of the people or beings or what have you all speak English. And I understand it's comic books, it's how it's been, and it is what it is, but for me, it just seems out of place. It doesn't make sense to me. Additionally, there was this one other nitpick, but you could say it's a spoiler, so I won't say it, but it's also very small, but it stuck out to me because this happens in movies a lot when they are doing something with something and then something doesn't happen. I know that's not specific, and I know that doesn't make sense, but I don't want to spoil anything because I do spoiler-free reviews. Overall, this was a very fun and funny movie with some pretty sweet action scenes as well. A lot of the humor landed surprisingly well, and I think that's definitely due to having that outside direction from a completely different filmmaker. And I think that can be attributed and given thanks to Waititi. And there are a lot of small flaws for me personally. Maybe if you're a big-time Marvel fan, a big-time Thor fan, these things won't bug you as much. But me, as just a film lover, they definitely did take away from my overall enjoyment of the film. But nonetheless, I think it was a very fun movie, definitely enjoyable. It's worth watching, especially if you're into it. It's a good time. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Alright guys, looks like my incense went out. Oh well, whatever. I'm going to definitely take some of that off-brand NyQuil and go to bed. If you liked the video, please comment. Let me know what you thought about Thor or your favorite Marvel movie. And additionally, please subscribe. Subscribe if you like it. If you like it, subscribe. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next review.